Hey everyone, this is Easy Guys Hardware, and today we're talking about tips and tricks when it comes to buying RAM, or more so what to look out for. So the first thing is, it follows on from wisdom that I originally heard from my parents, and that was don't mix your drinks. So if you're having beer, don't have vodka. Well, you shouldn't. You feel the effects more. But with RAM, the same concept applies, except for you're not getting drunk. So if you're buying one particular lot of RAM, and you want to have another set, then you buy 2 lots of that particular lot of RAM. Okay? You don't go with a set of Corsair and a set of G.Skill. It doesn't mean that you won't post or get into Windows. What could happen is, well, one, you actually may not be able to post at all or get into Windows. But when it comes to setting your XMP profiles or overclocking, that won't work at all. You could have system instabilities elsewhere even after getting into Windows. So it's just better practice just to keep it all the same. So don't mix your RAM sticks in terms of what brand and make they are. Even to the point of, let's go with Corsair Vengeance Pro RGB, which what me and my missus have. I'm pretty sure we have 3200 megahertz at CL16. Sounds right. Anyway, let's say you get that and you want to get another set, then you need to get the exact same numbers. So another set of 3200 megahertz at CL16. Now, when it comes to speeds and latency, like how fast RAM is, I have already spoken about it in a video beforehand, it'll be in the top left. But basically, the higher the megahertz, the faster the RAM is. But at the same time, the lower the CL number, so the RAM timings for that particular set of RAM, also the faster that it is. And in some cases, again, let's go with what I've got, 3200 megahertz at CL16. If there was a 3000 megahertz at CL14, there's a possibility that that could actually run faster than my kit here because of the latency factors, which is what the CL numbers are all about. So that's all the RAM time. It's all about latency. So the faster the megahertz, the better. And the lower the CL number, the lower the RAM timings, also the better. So just something to keep in mind if you're really wanting performance. Now, if you're buying RAM for a system that you've had for a very long time, maybe you're running on DDR3, or maybe you haven't just checked what specs RAM your motherboard requires, but making sure you're getting the right spec RAM is obviously really good. If your motherboard can only accept DDR3, then make sure that's what you get. If your motherboard can't take DDR3, can only take DDR4, make sure that's what you get, and so on. And eventually DDR5 will be released, and that there will be a case of, well, make sure you get DDR5, not DDR4. So yes, make sure you're getting the right RAM for your motherboard. And speaking about motherboards, before you select your RAM, do select your motherboard. Go through the thing they call it a QVL. It's a list of RAM that motherboard completely accepts. It will tell you which ways it accepts it and which ways it's been tested and whatnot. So do go and have a look at the QVL before you look at selecting your RAM, just in case for some reason. And I've never looked at a QVL, I've never come across, well, I have looked at a QVL, but I didn't stay on it for more than a minute, so I never found what I was looking for. But I've never run into the problem of my stick of RAM or my sticks of RAM have never worked. So you should be all good. If you get something mainstream, Corsair Vengeance Pro, you got G.Skill, Trident Z, and so on. There's a few names for RAM sticks that just come to mind straight away for people. They should be alright, but just double check just in case your sticks are incompatible with that motherboard. Now, we've talked about speed, we've talked about latency, we've talked about not mixing and matching, but let's talk about the biggest thing, and that there is what's going to cost you more. How much RAM do you need? I guess it could cost you less, depends on what you're originally looking at. But what do you need? Now, for a budget system, so something that's going to be more geared towards checking the internet banking, Word documents, checking your emails, basically the bare necessities of what a computer is for these days, then you only need 8 gigabytes. And that's the same with entry level gaming. You only need 8 gigabytes because 8 gigabytes is still enough to game on. So mid level and high end gaming are really dependent on if you are just gaming on your system. If you're just gaming, then you only need 16 gigabytes. That there is like the minimum that most people see. Again, you can run off 8, but 16 gigabytes is that sweet spot for a lot of people where you can game, watch YouTube, and have a little bit left over just to play safe. But if you're looking at doing some form of photo editing, video editing, more workstation tasks, then 32 gigabytes, 64, depending on what you actually need your RAM for. But I'd say if the bare minimum for some form of workstation tasks, well, you can make a claim for 16. I'd say to play safe, just go 32 if you're doing some form of workstation tasks. And now, speaking of workstations, the enthusiast market and the workstation market, again, start off with 32 gigabytes, 64 gigabytes, whatever your motherboard can support, in all honesty, is the maximum. Again, as dependent on what you need. And that's also dependent on what board you are using as to how much RAM the board will take and the CPU will take. The bare minimum would be 32, but you're probably more looking at 64 as your minimum. And then just onwards and upwards from there until you can't put any more RAM in. But yes, that there is all I have for you today. I want to thank you all for watching. I hope that you will join me in the next video. Don't forget to hit that like button somewhere down below. Smash that subscribe button and make sure that the notification bell is turned on. I hope that you all join me in the next video. Thanks again for watching. See ya. Have a good day. Have a good week. Whatever. Bye.